Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the casual studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show podcast. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. Yepper do, it's here. Bonding with family and friends. Oh, yeah. Happy New Year. By the way, I hope to squeeze in another podcast before the new year, so we'll have an adult beverage then, eh? Okay, mighty fine. Today, coming up on today's podcast, one of my all-time favorites will join me, Mr. Don Henley. I have to tell you this story. I'm working out in the basement. That's where I tend to be working out. The other day, I'm on old Mr. Treadmill, and I will do anything, and I do mean anything, to be distracted. I listen to music, sports radio, rock and roll, or I watch TV. So sometimes I just stare because there's so much junk. Well, stuff. It's good stuff, actually, in and around the treadmill that I'm working out on. And there's just stuff everywhere. And I have an old record rack from a radio station that I worked at years and years ago, WABX. And in the slots, there are obviously lots of older albums that I keep in there, but there are some empty ones there as well. And I saw in one of the slots what appeared to be a coffee table book. Well, it was, in fact, a coffee table book, and I finish up my workout, get off the treadmill, and I wander over, and I grab the book. It's the 150th anniversary illustrated edition of the American classic Walden by Henry David Thoreau. So I started thinking, wait a minute, that was a gift sent to me by Don Henley. So it's a beautiful book sent to me by Don Henley. I wander over, I grab the book, and as I'm grabbing the book and looking through it, an envelope falls out, and it's addressed to me, and there's a letter inside the envelope. But on the envelope it says, Ken, and then in quotes, in your face, Calvert. Ken, in your face, Calvert, care of WCSX 1 Radio Plaza, Ferndale, Michigan. And so I went, what the heck is that? And I open it up, and there's this letter inside that I'm about to read to you. First of all, let me just tell you that Don Henley founded the Walden Woods Project back in 1990. It's a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the historic woods in Massachusetts, where author, philosopher Henry David Thoreau first championed the concept of land conservation. Don Henley has chaired the organization's board of directors since its inception. So like I told you, I grabbed the letter, and I'd like to read it to you. And then we'll hear the interview, and it'll all make sense. Trust the Calv. Trust me. Here's the letter. Dear Ken, as a token of my appreciation for the stimulating interview, I thought you might like to mellow out with this complimentary copy of the 150th anniversary edition of Walden, which my organization, the Walden Woods Project Thoreau Institute, has published in conjunction with Houghton Mifflin and photographer Scott Miller. Of course, a portion of the proceeds from the sale of this book go to the Walden Woods Project. This project, which actually now is in its 18th year, is certainly one of the reasons that I write fewer songs than I used to. But that's fine with me because that's what I want to do. As I'm sure you know, one's priorities change as one gets older. I'm sure that I will write many more songs before I'm through, but as I said to you in the interview, I'm not going to write and release a bunch of mediocre crap just for the sake of meeting some record company's release schedule or making a quick buck. That's not the way that I, nor the Eagles, got to where we are today. In any case, I'm grateful for the interrogation airtime, and he's crossed out interrogation. And then in parentheses he has, at least you don't work for Clear Channel. See you soon. Best regards, Don Henley. So with that said, I'm going to frame this letter, that is for sure. This is now going on my wall of shame. But now listen back to the interview that we did in 2004, and you will hear me sort of pepper and maybe pester Don Henley just a little too much. Don Henley is an amazing guy. I hope you like it. I hope you like the podcast. And I look forward to entertaining you again very, very soon on the Ken Calvert podcast. Here's Don Henley. Ken Calvert, and now joining me on my live line, Don Henley. Don, welcome. How are you?
I'm okay, Ken.
You are calling me from where today?
I'm calling you from Texas today, where it's raining.
Whereabouts in Texas were you born?
I was born in the sticks. The population of my hometown is 2,300. We have one red light, one Dairy Queen. Whoops, I can't say that, can I?
Yeah, you can.
One sheriff, one post office, one school, one zip code. So it was very different from Dallas. And that's where I was born and raised.
But you're very close to my age, and so when you were growing up in that small town in Texas, almost reminding me of that scene from The Last Picture Show,
Yep.
Who were you listening to on the radio, and who influenced you?
When I was a kid, my dad and I would listen to a radio station that broadcasted from Shreveport, Louisiana. The station was called KWKH,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a program called the Louisiana Hayride, which was sort of a copy or an offshoot of the Grand Ole Opry. And I would listen to Hank Williams and Patsy Cline and Red Foley and, a lot of the early country stars. But I would also listen to rock and roll sometimes. There was a station in New Orleans that I could get, and I listened to a lot of music from there. I listened to all kinds of stuff. I had one of those little RCA 45 RPM record players.
I did too.
With the red top spindle.
Yeah?
And I used to listen to, Elvis Presley and Jerry Lee Lewis.
Sure.
And Fats Domino and Little Richard and the Everly Brothers, and those were my first rock and roll records.
Now, when did you realize, and I find it so interesting that it's been such a long time since you've really put out a new piece of product, and that is called Inside Job with Pro Tools or Cool Edit Pro or whatever it is. How is it that it takes you guys so long to put out new product as solo artists?
The only excuse is I'm busy doing other things,
But that's not a good. I'm sorry, Don. That's not a good excuse.
Oh,
you must be writing on a regular basis.
I write things down every day and jot them down on scraps of paper and throw them in a bag.
Yeah.
But I also have 3 small children, ages 4, 6, and 8, and school is about to start.
Yeah.
And things are just different now. My time is not my own. When Glenn Fry and I were living together in Los Angeles, we didn't have anybody to be responsible for except ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we would get up in the morning and, light up a cigarette of some type and have coffee or beer or whatever, or both,
yeah.
and sit around and write songs all day, But that was a long time ago. So there are just, when you get older, there are a lot of things that in life that take precedence over songwriting sometimes. But we still manage to squeak out a few once in a while. Our songwriting days are not over. It just doesn't happen very fast. Never, you know what? It didn't happen fast even back then.
Mm-hmm.
We always took our time writing songs because we're very particular about what we write. I hear things on the radio today that don't seem like songs to me. Seems like some things that somebody threw together in about 5 minutes. And as you say, Pro Tools and all the technical wizardry that we have now make it real easy for anybody. I mean, you don't really have to have any songwriting talent to put a track together. You can sit down at a computer and make a music track. The same thing has happened in rock and roll that's happened in the movies. Form has taken precedence over content.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you have is a lot of stuff. Any kid can make an album now in his apartment with a computer. But that doesn't necessarily constitute good songwriting or good lyrics or good melodies. Anybody can sit down and concoct a piece of music with rhythm. You can make a rhythm track, the drums, the percussion, that whole thing.
Right.
But it's what you put on top of that makes it a song. And that's where I hear a lot of people falling down.
Don, I learned a long time ago to try not and step on the guest, and that's why I'm not firing right back. But when you went at the very top of that question and you talked about your real family, your 3 children, you have a listening family. You have an audience that I play to every day, and so I here's the Larry King question: Do you feel an obligation to that family?
Did you know that those are his real shoulders?
Well, I'm wearing. Believe me, I'm wearing suspenders right now, so that's why I decided to ask that question.
The obligation is not in terms of the obligation I have to that family is not in terms of quantity. It's in terms of quality. You know, my whole life is about quality of life, quality of music. You know, we live in an age where quantity is king and speed is king, and I don't subscribe to that.
Okay.
You know, I'd rather do less work and do better work. You know, I'd rather go slower and really see what's around me and live life to the fullest rather than just whipping through this thing for the sake of getting through it. So, yeah, I have an obligation, and I think I'm fulfilling it to the best of my ability.
Are you all right? Then I'll follow up with a Ken Calvert question. Are you the happiest you've ever been?
Today, at this very moment?
Well, no, I mean in terms of where you are with your family, with your children, with your music, with the reassociation with, and hopefully forever, the Eagles, and we could go on for days about that. But especially the new project. I mean, again, let's talk about the fact Inside Job is now available. It's and I should mention as well that Don Henley is my guest. Are you the happiest you can be right now?
No, probably not. You know, I mean, I'm very happy with some things and not very happy with others, just like everybody else.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know, some days are better than others.
Can we talk? Can we talk about the Eagles and how that felt to be back together?
Sure.
And how did it feel to be back together?
Well, I mean, some people. I think some people just think some people think we just got back together. I mean, I keep reading in the papers where we've reunited again. We've been together since 1994. You know, I enjoy playing with the Eagles. We're having a good time on stage. The band sounds better than ever. I also enjoy my solo touring because I have an excellent band of great guys. We all get along famously, and we work well on the road together. And I'm writing some songs with them, and still writing songs for the mythical Eagles album that may or may not come out someday.
You know, I wish you guys would just stop that. Just listen.
We're not doing it on purpose.
I swear to you, you are. Don Henley, my guest. Yes, you do. And I'm telling you right now that Don Henley, you have a basement, you have a vault, you have half track, you have whatever device you have. I'm willing to bet you that there are over 100 Eagles songs that we would all love to hear, and I'm willing to bet you there are as many Don Henley songs that we would all love to hear. But given your eccentricities, if you will, you rock stars, they're buried somewhere and we'll never hear them. Why?
Boy, I wish you were right about that. I so wish that was the truth.
Yeah.
We've got a few Eagles things in the vault. You know, we've got about 15 or 16 things. I like about 4 of them.
See, I rest my case, Your Honor. I rest my case.
We're not going to sell the people crap, you know.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
There are too many of our peers have gone out there and made mediocre albums or worse, you know, and put them out and gone back out on the road for these farewell things. By the way, I hope everybody, I mean, some people seem to be missing the joke about this Farewell 1 thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a farewell tour. This is Farewell 1.
Right.
And, you know, some people have taken it seriously. And, you know, we've got our tongues firmly in our cheeks on this thing, and I'm sure we'll be back for Farewell 2 and Farewell 3. And one of these days we may actually finish this record, but not until I like it. You know?
Well, isn't there a committee involved somewhere? Or,
yeah, well, yeah.
Or do you wear the captain's logo on your jersey?
No, we trade captain's hats.
Okay.
And you know, Glenn's going to have to like it too, and we're going to have to agree on what we like and what we don't like. And that could take, years, but we do have some things in the can, and we are talking about. Glenn has been talking about recording some more next year. I mean, this year is gone. We're going to be on the road for the rest of this year.
Right.
So when we get home and we go through the Christmas, the holiday season and do all that, then in January we have our annual band meeting. We always have a meeting in January, and we say, do we want to continue this or don't we? And if we do want to continue, what are we going to do? We're going to record, we're going to tour, we're going to do both. How are we going to do this? And we have a little band meeting with our manager, of course, and we decide what the future is going to be.
All right, 2 final questions for you, then I'll let you go. You've been way too kind, and I really want to thank Don Henley, my guest.
You're doing that really well.
Thank you, Don. As a guy that fools around with the drums, I've never understood how you play and sing at the same time.
Me neither.
All right, let's leave it at that. Now, final question. Happier playing as a solo artist or happier playing with the Eagles?
It's equal, even Steven.
All right, and your favorite all-time Eagles Henley song? One or the other? One. Come on, you got to do it.
Well, Heart of the Matter is a good song.
It is.
Yeah.
And
there's a song on Inside Job, a couple of songs that kind of got overlooked that I think are really good songs. One of them is called My Thanksgiving, which is a song about gratitude, which is something a lot of us don't have enough of. And I also like the title cut a lot, Inside Job.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good tune.
Stan Lynch was fun to work with, and John. They're calling saying, "Get off the phone with this guy Calvert in Detroit."
That's my business line. They should know better.
All right,
know that I'm on the phone with you. Stan Lynch is a gas to work with.
Yeah.
He's one of the funniest, brightest human beings on the planet, and I look forward to getting in the studio with him again.
Thanks, Don Henley.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, I'll see you, Pally. Bye-bye.
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert.